My aunt tried selling my late mom's $430,000 house while I lived in it, so I made her regret it by hiring a lawyer and it to court. Original post. So this just happened a few weeks ago and I'm still kind of stunned. A little background before we get into the absolute insanity that was my aunt trying to steal my home out from under me. Yes, my literal home. Buckle up. I, 23F, grew up in a quiet town in Oregon, in a cozy 2-story house that my mom bought when I was 5. It wasn't huge, but it had this crooked fence, a lemon tree that never grew lemons, and the best kitchen window view of the valley. My dad passed away when I was 6, car accident, and it was just me and my mom after that. She was my best friend, my entire emotional support system, and honestly the reason I'm as stable as I am today. She passed away from cancer about a year and a half ago. Still hurts to say that out loud. But before she died, she made it crystal clear. This house would be mine. She had the will written up properly, notarized, filed, no questions. She even walked me through it when she first got sick. So no one tries anything stupid, she said. Well, someone tried something extremely stupid. Janice is my mom's older sister. If passive-aggressive narcissist were a profession, she'd be CEO. She always had this thing about being the oldest, like it gave her some divine right to run the show. My mom used to say, Janice lives in a world where everyone owes her rent. When my mom passed, Janice showed up at the funeral wearing sunglasses indoors, full black lace, and a dramatic story about how they were just starting to reconnect, please. My mom hadn't spoken to her more than twice in the last 3 years, and both times were because Janice randomly showed up at her chemo appointments, like some sad attempt at penance. Anyway, after the funeral, I moved back into the house. I'd been living in a campus apartment, but dropped out for a semester to handle estate stuff and breathe. It was quiet, sad, but it was mine. I worked at a nearby bookstore, paid the bills, and maintained the garden the best I could. Slowly, I started healing. Until Janice came back. 3 months ago, I started getting weird mail. Letters addressed to current resident with things like, "We're interested in buying your property," or "Quick sale, no hassle." Stuff I assumed was just normal real estate spam. But then I got a packet from someplace called Keller Cromwell Holdings, with my address listed as under negotiation, and stapled to the back, a goddamn signed agreement with Janice's name on it. She was trying to sell my house. I honestly thought it was a scam. I even called the number listed on the paperwork pretending to be a buyer. Some real estate assistant answered and said Janice was the point of contact, and that she had inherited the property through family transfer. Y'all. First saw. Read. I pulled out the will, the original one. It clearly says the house was left solely to me, with Janice explicitly excluded as a beneficiary due to a history of exploitative behavior. I'm not kidding. That's literally what it says. My mom was cold with the pen, so I did what every modern woman raised on Reddit and petty justice does. I called my mom's lawyer. He still remembered her and immediately scheduled a meeting. I brought everything. The mail, the signed agreement, the will. He read it, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Oh, she's dumber than I thought." Turns out Janice had forged a family transfer claim using a fake addendum to the will dated after my mom's death. Let me say that again. After my mom's death. This woman used a Word template, printed it on cheap legal paper, and tried to pass it off as a legitimate document. She even signed it as my mom, with a pen color that didn't match the original will ink, and using the wrong last name. My mom had legally changed it back to her maiden name after my dad died. Janice forgot that part. Instead of calling her out, I decided to wait. See, the house wasn't just emotionally mine, it was legally and publicly mine. The title transfer had been done. But Janice clearly hadn't bothered checking with the county clerk. She probably thought I was some grieving kid she could steamroll over and that the dumb niece wouldn't know how to respond. She had no idea I was preparing a legal trap. She showed up one Sunday morning with a man in khakis and a clipboard. She didn't even knock. I was on the porch watering plants and she just waltzed up like she owned the place. "Janice, we're just doing a quick walkthrough. Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. Me. "Excuse me?" Janice, smiling like a psychopath. "Oh, honey, don't worry. I'm negotiating a good deal. You'll get your share, in my house." The clipboard guy looked uncomfortable. Janice said you were a tenant." I handed him my ID and said, "I'm not a tenant. I'm the owner." And if you don't leave my property in the next 30 seconds, I'm calling the cops for trespassing. He left. Fast. Janice, though, stood her ground. Janice, you're making a mistake, kid. Your mother would have wanted us to share the house. You don't even have the capacity to manage it. I said, you're right. She would have wanted to share with people who treated her with respect. That doesn't include you. She stormed off, muttering about legal action and how this isn't over. 2 days later, I got served with a cease and desist letter from her lawyer cousin, who I later found out specializes in DUI cases in Nevada, LMAO. He claimed wrongful occupancy and demanded I vacate the home or face a civil suit. My lawyer laughed. We sent a certified letter back with the original will, property deed, and a reminder that filing fraudulent documents is a felony. He ghosted us after that. But I wasn't done. Update 1. My aunt tried to sell my house, so I didn't expect this story to blow up the way it did. Thank you to everyone who commented, messaged, and shared legal memes with me. You guys are the reason I didn't second-guess myself when I walked straight into full petty mode. Anyway, let's talk about what happened after Janice brought in her clipboard clown and tried to negotiate a good deal on my dead mom's house. Spoiler alert, things got wild. After the whole porch invasion, I realized I had an opportunity to go full lawful petty. I didn't just want to shut her down, I wanted it to sting. Like, cry in the car sting. So I went to the county records office, took a half-day off work, wore my best, I'm the main character hoodie, and printed out every single document related to the house. Original title transfer will with notarization stamp, the trust paperwork, and my personal favorite, the notice of intent to sell document. Janice filed with Keller Cromwell Holdings using a forged signature and an invalid claim of heirship. I brought them to my lawyer, who immediately said, "Oh, this is better than expected." Turns out filing forged real estate paperwork with the intention to profit from someone else's property? Yeah, that's fraud. Potentially a Class C felony in Oregon. Now Janice had been trying to sell the house quietly. The real estate firm was shady but technically legit, so I wrote a little email. BCC'd every agent at the brokerage, included PDFs of all the legal documents, and a note that said, "Hi, it's come to my attention that a sale is being negotiated on my legally owned property without my consent. The woman you've been speaking to, Janice, redacted, has no legal claim to the home, and any transaction will be considered fraudulent. I've attached full proof of ownership and a scanned affidavit from my lawyer. If any further action is taken on this listing, I'll be pursuing criminal charges. Kindly, the actual owner." Within 24 hours, I got an apologetic email from the firm's legal team saying they had dropped Janice as a client. That wasn't even the best part. They sent her a formal cease and desist. I know, never feed the trolls. But I needed to hit Janice where it hurt. And where does a 50-something passive-aggressive narcissist live emotionally? Facebook. She had already started spinning her version of events online. My niece is confused. My sister would have wanted us to share. Grieving kids shouldn't handle real estate. Blah blah, victim narrative. So I took a screenshot of her post. Then I posted a comment thread beneath it with a screenshot of the title deed with my name, a copy of the will where my mom excluded her by name, and a simple caption that read, "Mom didn't want you near the house when she was alive. Why would she want you in it now? Y'all, it blew upper." Her post went from 38 likes to absolute silence. Her wine aunt friends stopped commenting. Her MLM girlies untagged her from Boss Babe photos. And her Bible study group leader actually liked my comment. Turns out forged documents don't just magically disappear. My lawyer, shout out to Shelby the legal queen, had forwarded everything to the local district clerk's office, and someone there took it very seriously. Enter. Investigator Cardenas. He called me personally, asked for the originals, said there were discrepancies that warranted escalation. I handed over the forged document Janice submitted, and he whistled when he saw the why. Because she misspelled my mom's middle name on her own fake will. Imagine being that lazy and that bold. Okay, so this part wasn't planned. My friend Jen works for a local news station, small-time segment, mostly feel-good stuff. She saw my Facebook post and messaged me. "Want to tell your story? This stuff happens more than people think." I said yes. We filmed a short piece. Local woman fights back against family fraud after mother's death. I wore the same hoodie I confronted Janice in. Jen blurred the addresses and names, but the story was unmistakably ours. The best part? The segment aired on the same night Janice was hosting a virtual grief healing circle on Zoom. Multiple people messaged her about the story in real time. She rage quit the call. After the news story aired, Janice tried one last move. She emailed me personally. It started with, "You didn't have to humiliate me like that." "Oh, yes, I did." Then she begged me not to press charges, said she was confused and acting out of grief and wanted to keep the house and the family. I forwarded the email to investigator Cardenas. He thanked me and said it would be very helpful. Haven't heard from Janice since. But according to my cousin, her son, she's planning to move somewhere with better energy, which I assume means a 2-bedroom apartment with no porch and no lemon tree. Final update. My aunt tried to sell my house. Now she can't even rent one. Hey Reddit, I didn't think this story would stretch into a trilogy, but apparently karma moves in chapters. Since so many of you asked for closure, and because the final domino just fell, here's the conclusion to the story of how my aunt tried to steal the home my mom left me, and how I made sure she lost everything but her fake designer bags. Spoiler alert, I'm writing this from the porch. The lemon tree is finally blooming. And yes, Janice is gone. Roughly 3 weeks after I exposed Janice's forged documents and shut down her little family transfer fantasy, I got a call from investigator Cardenas. He didn't sound like he was just following up. He sounded pleased. The district attorney had reviewed everything. The will, the house deed, the forged documents, the messages, even the real estate listing paperwork she filed using my dead mother's name. Incorrectly, I might add. She used Mom's married name, even though she legally changed it back to her maiden name 10 years ago. Amateur hour. And with that, they officially filed charges. Forgery of legal documents, filing false real estate claims, attempted property fraud. Each one carries its own weight. But together, the DA's office saw a pattern of malicious and deceptive intent. Janice was given a court date. Her name was posted on the public docket. I didn't have to lift a finger after that. The law was doing its thing. All I did was watch it unfold, like front row seats to the downfall of a woman who thought she could outsmart both blood and paper. About a week before her court date, Janice sent me an email. The subject line was, "We need to talk, please." I shouldn't have opened it, but curiosity always gets the best of me. Inside, she rambled for 5 paragraphs. Started with, "You didn't have to humiliate me like this." Then spiraled into gaslighting. "I was just trying to keep the house and the family. You're too young to understand legacy. Your mother and I made peace before she died. You weren't there. Oh, but I was there. Every step of my mom's last months, every appointment, every chemo session, every quiet moment she cried into my shoulder and said, 'Please don't let her near this house when I'm gone.' So no, Janice, you don't get to rewrite history. Not in my inbox." I didn't respond. I forwarded the email to investigator Cardenas. He replied with a simple, "Thank you. This supports the timeline and demonstrates clear intent." Mic drop. Remember how I did that segment for a small local station? Turns out someone from Janice's wine club saw it. Word got around. Janice's MLM team started backing away. Her group chat got quiet. She was removed as the admin of her grief support Facebook page, and when she showed up to her women's prayer brunch, someone had swapped out her seat marker with one that said, Jezebel. My cousin. Her son told me she came home crying and threatened to sue the church for defamation. He reminded her that's not how church works. She then tried to move in with him, and his wife lasted less than 48 hours. She complained about the lighting demanded. They let her use their Netflix and told their 3-year-old not to touch her vintage purse, which is just a peeling Coach bag. She got from a thrift shop. They dropped her off at a motel and blocked her number. After getting kicked out of her lake house, a friend's summer home she was squatting in for a year, Janice tried to float between acquaintances, but no one wanted to touch a woman facing charges for property fraud. She ended up renting a single room above a laundromat in a strip mall an hour outside town. I know this because she complained on her Facebook before deleting the whole account. She now shares a bathroom with 2 chain smokers and a guy named Todd who sells essential oils and bootleg DVDs. Not that I'm keeping tabs. I totally am. Peace. Glorious, uninterrupted peace. The porch is clean. The passive-aggressive sticky notes are gone. The scent of fake lavender candles has been replaced by fresh air and a single eucalyptus diffuser that I picked. I turned Janice's old guest room into a reading nook, painted it sage green, put in a comfy armchair, added shelves for all the books I've been meaning to read, hung a neon sign that says, "This house belongs to me." And the best part? The attic. While organizing boxes, I found an old shoebox tucked behind a beam. Inside, a stack of photos, a tiny ceramic owl I made in 3rd grade, and a letter. For Ruby, when you're ready. It was my mom's handwriting, faded but clear. She talked about how proud she was of me, how she knew Janice might come circling like a vulture, how she put everything in my name so I'd never have to fight to keep what was already mine. She wrote about the garden, the lemon tree, and how, even if I ever felt alone, the house would always be a watching over me. The last line. "Don't let anyone make you small in the place you were born to grow," I cried. The ugly kind of cry, the healing kind. And then I folded the letter, framed it, and put it right above the reading chair, so I see it every day. We're not close. He and my mom split when I was 10, and he moved to Arizona with his new wife. But he saw the news segment, called me out of the blue, said, "Your mom would be proud." I am too, sorry I wasn't around more. Then he Venmo'd me $500 with the note, for porch lights or revenge snacks. I used it to buy a standing lamp for the reading room, and an espresso machine. Felt like a good combo. Janice took a plea deal. 2 years probation, $7,500 fine, mandatory counseling for impulse control and deceitful behavior. Public apology to me, which I didn't require, but it was the judge's condition. She didn't look at me in court, but I looked right at her, and I smiled. The lemon tree is blooming for the first time in 6 years. The porch feels bigger, the house feels warmer, and I feel lighter. No more pretending, no more walking on eggshells. Just peace, books, coffee, and the quiet strength of a girl who stood her ground and kept the ground under her feet. If you're going through something similar, please know, you are not powerless. Paper trails, truth, and a calm sense of self go a long way. And if you're lucky, Reddit will have your back too. Thanks for following the saga. I've got a life to live now. In my house. And Janice. Well, last I heard, she's selling fake crystals on Etsy under the name Healing Empress 43. So, I think we both ended up exactly where we belong. Thanks for watching and being part of the drama. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a wild news story.